And what could be better than hacking on your latest project in an office overlooking the Mediterranean Sea and then taking it down to a boat and do strenuous QA work on the water. So, Zach, it's all yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, good morning. Well, basically, a yacht contains a lot of software. Based on some baseline research that we did, we figured out that a yacht contains around 33% software. Boat contains around 1.7 million lines of code. So what do? We're basically MARSSA Excel. We're an innovation hotspot in the central Mediterranean, and we do software research for all types of marine-going vessels, it being a ship, a super yacht, a privately owned small boat, and we're basically a neutral ground for companies to come and participate. So what do we mean by the marine industry? The marine industry, what does it mean? That means it's basically 30 million vessels, ranging from a cruise liner. So if one looks at a cruise liner, what is that? That contains, on average, around 2,000 screens and TVs. So that's already a use case for MeeGo. We have in Malta a boat called the Virtuferries, Maria Dolores. That's always escaping pirates. Based on its high-tech applications they use, is another application for MeeGo. Pirates in the Caribbean and in the Somali area. This is a basic bridge, how they currently look. You could imagine MeeGo on that. There's lots of room for MeeGo to come in. All those screens, all using proprietary systems. Another application is yachts and racing. This boat is owned by Nicholas, the owner of Skype. And basically on board now they're trying to integrate new technology such as using iOS and having the crew all with their own applications, seeing all the displays. We also have these super yachts, which are a lot in Malta. So that these people, for them, money is not an issue. So you can imagine the potential it has. So basically, the marine industry, apart from these super yachts, all these vessels, ships, containers, it's all about toys. So what do you find inside that boat? You find all these toys, jet skis, tenders. This is another application for MeeGo. You have your tender and you have your super yacht all running on MeeGo, everything interconnected. Whilst at the same time, you have your helicopter running on MeeGo. In the garage, there's a car normally. It's being a Ferrari or a Porsche. This is a toy for the owner. So it could be running on MeeGo IBI as well. So boat's basically a yacht. A yacht, as you can see, has a lot of things. There's basically a hotel load with all the entertainment, cinema systems and all these things, as well as motion control from all the engines and navigation systems. So, but basically the marine industry currently is a closed box due to all the proprietary solutions. So each company in the marine industry uses its own proprietary networks and protocols. So a typical case in point, we have a radar produced by manufacturer X, and we have a screen produced by manufacturer Y, and there's no way they can communicate with each other. So if you buy products from A, you have to use the products from A, and there's no way you can use products from X. So this means lots of proprietary networks, there's no room for innovation. Third parties can't come in very easily. So let's say you want to develop a MeeGo app, currently you can't come in, there's no way you can plug that app into the boat. And lots of custom black boxes. So basically it's a massive opportunity for MeeGo. But how can MeeGo tap into this market? So currently it's closed. There's the philosophy in the marine market where it's basically one box, one function. While we're trying to make it into one box, multiple functions by going on to services as software. So how can MeeGo tap in? Well, we basically around 3 weeks ago launched MARSSA, an open source project, the first in the marine industry, where we're trying to create a platform upon which all boats can communicate and talk. So MARSSA Excel, the cluster of excellence, is driving MARSSA, the first open source project in the marine industry. It's such a platform which we currently define a reference architecture for. All boats will be able to communicate on the same platform, allowing any front end to come in, plug in, use the sensors, actuators, and display the data on an application. So basically our concept is coming up with a private cloud in each boat. What do we mean by a private cloud? So basically, as you can see, a very high-level architecture, where at the bottom we have on the left-hand side proprietary components and the proprietary networks, whilst on the right we use open source standards. And this is a picture of what would be on a boat, where you have a set of nodes, such as flat computers and servers, all running a MARSSA middleware, allowing the platforms to communicate with each other and the front ends to seamlessly just integrate. And another key point is that we're going to hook up the boat to the social networks. So your boat, instead of using a $20,000 fire alarm system, will just tweet to you, "I'm on fire." And so as you can see, on the boat you'll have basically services, and based on what you want, you start or unload those services. And all the services are being developed in open source, so anyone can just come in and create a service and deploy it on his or her yacht. So basically the trick is the MARSSA middleware, where we're going to place a middleware, an open source footprint on each cloud, on each node on the boat. So MeeGo is in netbooks, in vehicles, in smart TVs. What's all about the marine industry? There's currently nothing being done. So what are we trying to achieve with this? We're trying to achieve another vertical working group within MeeGo, such as marine user experience. And this is where we're trying to get people to come in and help us out on this. It has a lot of the properties similar to the IVI, but the marine industry has unique characteristics such as the sea and the salt water. So touchscreens, when you're at sea, can't be used that easily because if your fingers are wet, it's ready. So different user experience has to be developed. So MeeGo goes marine. So in line with this, back in Malta, we have just recently come up with a demonstrator yacht where we have the MARSSA cloud running on it. And we're basically currently controlling it with an iPad. We can drive this boat with an iPad. We have various projects which the MARSSA Excel team in Malta is working hard on, such as Real Promise, which is a power analyzer. We have Marlon, a marine logging book, and iDockit, an intelligent docking assistant which will bring your vessel into the berth on its own. These are all being done on iOS. So this is the opportunity we're giving MeeGo to come in and basically develop an app for us to drive our boat to the MeeGo application, or control the lights, or whatever it is. So we're basically going to launch a competition which will where we'll come up with a website on our MARSSA wiki where we'll publish the services available on the boat, such as what the interface is, and allowing anyone to come in and plug it in and check if it works. That's how it will look in the future, MeeGo on a yacht. So basically MARSSA is everyone's gateway to the marine industry. Because with MARSSA, an open source platform, anyone can just come in, tap in, use the sensors, actuators, put TV on the boat, anything. And MeeGo is just perfectly suited for this. So it's a wide range of applications. We're not just talking about mobile, we're talking, as you remember from the picture before, a cockpit is a screen stuck there. So it's another application for MeeGo. You can also have the TV. This October, we're going to be organizing an event in Malta called I Love Open Source, where we're basically going to be bringing together top industry members from the open source world, as well as the top-notch guys from the yachting industry, and bring them to the concept of open source, because these guys are quite closed-minded and they're used to the proprietary solutions, as well as the electronic companies are used to being there. Whilst these guys think they're big, they're not that big, because the marine industry is highly segmented, so there are a lot of small companies fighting over it. Whilst if, let's say, one company has to come in MeeGo and go open source, they could swipe out the industry. So basically, at MARSSA Excel, we're currently recruiting. So anyone interested in working on marine apps, marine MeeGo, marine software architecture. And this is the view from the office, basically. And we actually come to work with by sea most often than not. That's it. I don't know, anyone ask questions or way forward?
Are you suggesting that MeeGo become a member, or the Linux Foundation become a member, or that others in this room become a member of
I don't know how to answer that question. We're basically, I don't know, what do you think, Rudy? MeeGo.
One of your pictures was confusing.
Which one? Back?
Yeah. What are those names mean?
It's basically just a sample picture of that. With MARSSA, it's basically the gateway to the industry. So Linux can currently not money. When you go on a super yacht, so we go on a super yacht, a boat costing around $200 million, and you see a blue screen, XP has crashed. So this is an opportunity for Linux to come in as well as MeeGo. Now, MARSSA is an open source project, so anyone can come in and collaborate. Whilst MaskXL as the cluster of excellence is also open for members. So Linux Foundation can come in as a member. Intel can come in as a member. I hope I answered your question.
So MARSSA isn't currently based on Linux, or is?
MARSSA is a reference architecture. As a reference architecture, it's technology independent, so it will not tell you what technology to use. So the reference the architecture, then you create your implementation of the architecture, and we hope using Linux. You could create the reference architecture, the implementation using Windows. It's how you then go about it, as long as you abide by the reference architecture. Any more questions? Right.
You mentioned the difference about the marine applications from IPI.
Yeah.
What do you think would really be different if any? How much different would the activities be? Would it just be the UX that would be different?
Basically, the marine industry, if you compare it to a car, is much vaster. There are many more things. So a simple car application, you have maybe maximum 4 screens, and there's no hotel load in this car. Well, a boat is a floating hotel. So each boat, being a 30-foot boat or a 200-foot boat, is a floating hotel. So even a plane doesn't even come close, because a plane has maximum, let's say, 300 TVs in the seats, whilst a cruise liner will have just simply 2,000 TVs. So you can see that it's on a massive scale. And it's currently untapped, completely untapped. So you go on each boat, you go on super yacht A, B, C, D, and everyone has his own setup. So it's like going to a house. When you go to a house, what do you find? Your electrician plumbed up the wires differently. That's how it is in the marine industry. Everyone just comes in, plugs everything in how they want, no documentation, nothing open source. So when you come as, let's say, Intel, and you want to come with APA and develop an app, how can you tap into this? There's no way you can tap into the data. It being the infotainment or anything. So there are a lot of similarities with the IVI group, but the marine industry is very unique. Okay.
Do you see the sweet spot for MeeGo more in infotainment or in communications and navigation?
Well, basically, I think currently it will be more in infotainment, because when you pass a certain size on a boat, there are societies which regulate things. So in the beginning, it's going to be hard to get into those and get approval. So a fast-track route will be infotainment, but there's no regulation society doing that. So you could come in, just get MeeGo TV, let's say, and plug it in. Right.
Are there any interfaces for the proprietary systems there? So whether they can somehow embed it into MeeGo devices or MeeGo platform there is an I or something like that. So can we use the software which is there in the proprietary system in the MeeGo-based device?
What software?
Whatever it is, well, I don't know, for the navigation.
Yeah, that's what basically with the MARSSA project, that's what we're doing. We're creating a gateway to all the software. So the developers will not need to know what protocols are being used by the radar or the sonar. It will create an API where you just say, I want sensor data from the radar. And it's independent. That's what we're trying to achieve. Currently, so if you buy a product from manufacturer X, he uses Chinese, whilst manufacturer Y uses English. And there's no way you can ever get that Chinese out, because he doesn't want to give it to you. He's keeping it in. These guys have invested a lot of cash in the proprietary networks. That's the issue. So to get them to go open source and to feel this is going to be hard. But if just one company comes in, a tech company, and says, I'm going open source, then these guys have nothing else. They can't compete against these big tech companies.
So basically you want to create some kind of middleware also, and instead of plugging into the actual API to the
Exactly. That's what we're doing with MARSSA. We're creating a middleware which will reside in every node on the boat. And this MARSSA middleware will be open source. And it will take care of all the communications and everything.
So how can we get invited to Malta in October?
Well, basically, the I Love Open Source event, I think when I go back on Monday, we're going to open it up for papers for submission. So anyone interested in anything, it being open source, marine, you like Malta, you can submit a paper, and I think we're offering the five top papers we get, free flights and free accommodation, basically a free holiday to Malta. So you should submit a paper. And we're trying to also do a MeeGo, one-day MeeGo summit in this. It's basically quite a long event. We're going to do it over 4 days, because one of the days is the Rolex Middle Sea Race, a big international event where there'll be all the top hotshots. And normally there'll be Nicholas with Rand there and all these guys, big tech companies that love sailing. And we also have roped in a top individual from the European Union coming to give a keynote speech. Any more questions? Good. Thanks for your time, I guess. Thank you.